everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Claire and today we're going to be working on something a little bit different, kind of a writing vlog, kind of something a little bit more structured because I'm very determined to get through as much as physically possible today. So yesterday evening I have finally finished my completed Act 1. If you are new to this channel, first off, hi, my name is Claire, and I've been working on for the last few years my first attempt at writing a book, and it is a YA fantasy novel. I am taking it very seriously, and I am seeking traditional publishing. I have been spending the last 6 months purely focusing on my Act 1. Just for a little bit more background, I completed the manuscript in January of 2018. So I'm not working from nothing. I had a completed manuscript, but it has changed so much. It feels like I have written 5 books by now with how much I have written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten this story. Even though fundamentally the story is still the same. But I have been constantly going through my Act 1, partially because where you start the story and how you introduce the characters and the world building is incredibly difficult. It's how you're going to potentially catch the eyes of a literary agent or an editor in the future, but also how you eventually, should you get published, catch the eyes of the reader. So I have gone to great lengths to make my first act as strong as possible, and now that it is done, I have sent it out to a few beta readers, some who are extremely familiar and intimate with my story, and some who know virtually nothing about it other than I have been working on it. So I'm very excited to receive feedback. So I am going to do today what I've been talking about working on for a while, and that is completing an Act 2 outline. Now, you might be thinking, Claire, you have a completed manuscript. Why are you making an outline for your Act 2? Well, you see, my Act 2, I already know, is going to need a decent amount of changes. As every famous author has always said, your first draft, or even your first few drafts, is you telling yourself the story. These next, few chapters, especially in the middle, are kind of messy. They're kind of all over the place. There are some certain plot points that are extremely important and that I'm very keen on hitting and making sure are told well and are definitely going to stay in the book. And then kind of all the stuff in between, that's a little bit more flexible and a little bit more all over the place. And something that I've done with my Act 1 is a lot of writing and rewriting and rewriting. So I would write a chapter, send it off to my editing friend who has been helping me out with this story. She would give me major critical feedback, and then I'd go back to that chapter. In a lot of cases, rewrite it from scratch. And while that was a great learning experience and it really helped me find my voice and pinpoint my story and figure out what worked and didn't work for what I'm going for, I don't want to do that much rewriting again if I can help it. And I might still end up having to do that, but I'm definitely going to try a more plotter methodology. So I'm going to first write out by hand, so it's low stakes, it's just for myself, what I think my Act 2 is going to consist of. Then, and I don't know if I'll get to it today, but sometime soon, I'm going to take these notes and write them up in a very nice, fancy Word document with bullet points and sub-bullet points, and then I'm going to send those notes, those specific notes, off to my secret editor friend and a few other people who are deeply involved with my story, know what's going on, and know where this story is heading, so they can tell me if this Act 2 works. There are things I'm going to be moving around, new plot elements that I'm going to be introducing, and then funny enough, my Act 3, I am pretty gosh darn certain is going to need the least amount of revision. And so while I think on a sentence by sentence level, I'll definitely need to do some editing and add in some certain details and just make sure everything is tied up in a pretty bow, I feel pretty good about moving forward to that, but this Act 2, man, it's going to be a doozy. So like I said, today I'm using this vlog basically as a sort of accountability to make sure I get through as much as possible. And I will check in with you guys in a little bit. Okay, apologies, my vlogging camera was dying, so I'm switching over to my phone for a little bit while it's charging, but I'm opening up my older manuscript and it's so wild. It has a different title than what I now currently have that I like so much more. It's gonna be fun to go through and be like, oh my gosh, what do I think I have down? But also I might be surprised because maybe Act 2, maybe what I have written isn't terrible or somewhat salvageable, although like I said, there are certain like key things that I'm going to change, and oh goodness, it's gonna be a bit of a project. Currently with my old completed manuscript, it is at 289 pages and ever so slightly under 90k words. I suspect that I'll actually end up, when all of this is said and done and my manuscript is nice and polished and pretty, roughly around the same word and page count. Maybe just a little bit above the 90k. Hey guys, I know I haven't given an official update on how my outlining is going in a few days. So one, I wanted to mention that it is actually one of the hottest days of the year right now in Des Moines. I think it said it was only 92, but feels like 106. Since I can't do many outdoor activities right now, I am trying to stay focused on what I can do on my computer and this outline. So I can already tell this is going to be so useful for me. And this is kind of a unique outline because I've already written my manuscript and I already have a very clear idea for probably 75% of the plot points and character beats. I'm not outlining completely from scratch, which I think would be far more challenging for me. And because I already have a completed manuscript, I can pull that up and go back through and read those chapters and be like, okay, were the strongest points that I definitely want to keep, and what can I experiment with? There's still changes. Every chapter that I have outlined thus far has some, if not significant, changes. And it is really nice to pull back and really look at what is the goal of my character, where is the momentum of the plot, how can I make sure that certain important elements are seated correctly so they can pop up later in the story. So it's really nice having that chance to pull back and just make sure that all my ducks are correctly in a row. That being said, I still have so many chapters to go. So I think I have 4 completed outline chapters. So I'm aiming for, I think, 2 chapters to complete this afternoon. All right, hello everyone, same place, next day. So I have a barbecue to go to in a few hours, and yesterday, I do this thing, and I always do it when I'm drafting, and let me know if this is something you struggle with too. Whenever I'm drafting something, even this like outline, when I sense something isn't right, I can just get so stuck. So yesterday I wanted to get through 2 outline chapters. I only got through 1. I worked on outlining this chapter for a while too, and I still just could sense, and I still sense that there's something not quite right about it. And that's fine. It's like, girl, that's why this outline exists. That's why you're doing this. I just struggle to, I don't even want to say give myself permission, but acknowledge that even if I know something's wrong, that I can take a step back, look at the bigger picture, look at the weak spots, and fix them before going through all the work of actually writing the chapters, but it's like when I'm in the moment and it's like I want to figure it out right then and there. And I knew once I hit this point in Act 2, because it was like the first 4 chapters, no problem, writing them out like crazy, super excited to get them down on the page. Now I'm reaching these certain sections where I'm like, ooh. So that's what trips me up and then makes me take so long to write them out, but so be it. I'm still gonna try to get through 2. I don't know if it will happen. Okay, so I have been working diligently for the last hour and a half or so, and I'm now at a part in the story where I have to go pretty off base with what I had originally planned. I just wanted to take it in a little bit of a different direction, even though like a lot of the main climaxes and important moments remain the same. The situations, the circumstances between those important moments, I had just a different plan for, a different vision for. I've been spending the last like 15 minutes just rereading what I wrote, which is fun. It's rough in a lot of places and sometimes shockingly decent in others. There's some high tension or dramatic situations. I want to just make sure that I find the most entertaining way, but also the most realistic way to have these dramatic moments to keep them. So that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out right now. Hello friends, we are back again. Same place, same thing I'm still working on. However, other than my Irish class, which I already completed today, working on this outline is the only thing that I have scheduled. And so I already finished outlining 1 chapter, what was it, chapter 17. So I don't know how many chapters I have left, but determined to try to knock as much of this thing out as possible today. There are definitely a few chapters that I'm super excited to get to an outline, but they're also going to take a hot minute to get through. But that is my only goal today, to see how far I can get down this rabbit hole. So wish me luck. Alright, hey guys, so this is going to be my last update because I have finally finished working on this outline, kind of, sort of. I finished actually writing out all the chapters that are in my Act 2, but what I'm going to spend this weekend and next week really focusing on is reading through what I wrote and just trying to catch anything inconsistencies or anything that like I introduced in the beginning of Act 2 but then kind of forgot about towards the end. So I'm just really happy to have this done because it definitely took a little bit longer than I expected, but I feel so good about jumping into my second act now. I feel very confident in what role the second act plays with the story as a whole, because my Act 3 has always been the strongest point. The climax is something that I have been envisioning and obsessed over for years now. It basically has not changed since very first started drafting this book back in 2017. But it's always been a little bit of a struggle of like, okay, this climax is so cool and emotional and visceral. How can I justify getting my characters to that point? How can I make it even more meaningful? And so that's something that has been developing over the years, but now that I've really laid out this roadmap in front of me, I feel very confident in the way the story is presenting itself. That there's also really cool stuff in the middle of the book, because I think that's something that was worrying me, that maybe the middle of my book was sagging and that it felt like it dragged a little bit and that it ultimately was keeping me from getting to the really cool third act sooner. But now, just writing it all out, it's like, no, there are very, very almost equally as cool moments in the second act, and it feels like we're really building momentum and really building up to something magnificent, but that build is also exciting in its own right. So anyway, but like I said, I'm going to be spending this weekend and the next week really making sure that I have everything hammered out before sending it off to some friends, including my secret editor friend who knows that this is coming and will hopefully be able to read through it real quick. I am ending this document at a little over 11,000 words, and single spaced it's at 22 pages, so I'm probably also going to change the formatting just to make sure that it's easy to read. My favorite part about hammering this out too is any dialogue scenes, because I basically just have it like a script. There's no tags or anything. It's just the characters going back and forth with each other. Again, taking a step back and just being like, okay, is this dialogue serving a purpose and serving it correctly, where like it's providing information to the characters and to the reader, but also being entertaining, but also being true to how these characters talked and that they're distinct. Yeah, I think I'm officially in love with plotting. It really helped. And I still had moments of pantsing while I was plotting too, where I was highly creative and different thoughts or situations were coming to me that I never thought of before, and then I could write them out in this bullet point format and then go back and be like, does that work with where I'm going and what I have previously? And a lot of times it did. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this week's writing vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you too are working on writing any fiction, how you deal with editing if you're doing something similar to me or something completely different, and then especially if you are more of a plotter or a pantser, and if you've ever tried taking on a different role. So I would say up until this point I've been a pretty steady pantser, and now I think I'm won over by the other side. So let me know if you've had any experiences like that before for yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!